Pranam, good afternoon. So yes, I can see the excitement in your face to see boxes of food appear on the table, but you'll soon be very disappointed to learn that they're not for you to eat. All will be revealed soon, but yeah, please don't eat any of the items in the box because they're going to be going back to Aberfan shortly after, back to the food bank. So thanks all for being here today. I think the cake programme has been amazing for all of us involved. My name is Mike, I'm from The Wallet, which is a Welsh homelessness charity, and this is Lynn. I'll let you introduce yourself, Lynn.
Yeah, I'm from a small community organisation called H Factor, set up specifically to look at place-based regeneration through energy and through enterprise. So our food bank's part of the enterprise.
And I'm Catherine Thomas, the Facilities Manager for Public Health Wales.
We did have one other member of the team who couldn't make it today, unfortunately, which was Vicky Hiscox from Pobble Group. So we're a bit of a mixed bag from public health, homelessness, housing and enterprise. But I think during the process and during the residential particularly, I think getting to know each other, we kind of came together probably through a passion for helping people. Would that be fair to say? And probably one of the big topics and big themes, throughout that time was that the cost of living was really starting to bite, and you were hearing more and more about people who were struggling with that. So I think our initial brief really was in relation to that, and we just sort of thought, how might we better use our resources using circular economy principles to support people through some of these challenges. So that's kind of where we started, and the conversations continued from there, and we realised what a massive thing we'd taken on really. So part of the process obviously helps you to get down and whittle that down into something that was tangible. So we discussed all of the various factors that we could focus on, in things like fuel prices, energy bills, inflation, kind of global instabilities and things like that were going on at the time as well. Just felt massive, and actually food was something that we felt that we might be able to influence and impact. So initially we kind of broadly got to that point where we were going to explore surplus food to see where we come from.
Thank you. So, we have a community hotel in Aberfan and Merthyr Vale. That was shut for 15 months during COVID. We persuaded the owner that he would give it to us. Well, not give. We lease it. We've agreed a purchase price, and we have 3 years to complete and raise that money. Now we're a year and a half in. That created 16 jobs. In order to look after the community fully, the hotel attracts tourism. We have 16 jobs, and the food bank is part of what we do. What has happened with the food bank, the changes are massive. Food surpluses from January to now have changed dramatically. People who are waiting for an essential food box are expecting tins, cereal, tea, coffee, milk, meats, things that actually make food. What I've done on the graphs that you've got in your box is to show what that change has been. And we're now having a lot of food that is waste, if you like, but we're trying not to waste the waste, because it comes to me on one day, and getting it out to our food bank users quick enough is a massive problem. And the changes have kept happening. Over the last 16 weeks, we've had to supplement what we have in from Fair Share Cymru to be able to buy those meals, the tins that they're looking for, which as a hotel was reasonably okay to do. We can use a lot of the food that's there, we can put money in to actually buy the substitutions. But we have had really strange things come forward. So I've had whole crates of avocados. There's only so many things you can do with there. Whole crates of cucumbers that are almost on the turn. Mangoes, we had crates of mangoes 1 week, and then they came again, as if we hadn't got rid of the first lot. So we've been trying to work with what we can do to make that a lot more circular. We brought in a cook, so on a Monday when the boxes come, we said, what can we do with that type approach to not wasting it? And so you've got those food boxes to look at.
Yes, and I think our challenge with the food boxes is to come up with a recipe, I guess, because Kath will talk you through all the challenges now.
Yes, so what we're hoping you do is you have a quick look through your food box while we talk and try and see if you can come up with a recipe of what you would do with those that were in there. Bear in mind, obviously, mangoes and avocados. We are talking about Aberfan, a deprived area with an awful lot of older people, really, that don't have the modern day smoothies and slow cookers, etc. the rest of us would be able to put our hands to. So we looked at already at what was around food and food sharing. There's a load of really, really good work happening with all of this at the moment. Welsh Government are doing a lot of food mapping. All councils are doing a lot of work. Supermarkets are working with a lot of food banks. And there's amazing work going on with much smaller groups as well, working on the health of food and people with certain religions. So if you had to go to a food bank, would you know where to go? Would you know how to get help? Would you know what to get, where to go for a healthy diet? Mike? Over to you, Mike.
Good to be.
Am I moving?
So yeah, some of the key challenges we identified as well, which is part of the challenge that you're doing today, is access to a healthy meal is one thing. So looking at some of the longer term issues of people who haven't got access to regular healthy meals. You know, can we work with surplus food to help avoid people having to go and buy cheap £1 microwave meals, for example? There's some things around that. We also looked at a particular demographic of people maybe just above the poverty line. So a lot of the existing services that are available that are working with food surplus may be open to people on proof of low income or benefit, but actually with the cost of living increasing, that group's expanding. So there's potentially more people who are then at risk of food poverty, fuel poverty, potentially homelessness, things like that. Organisations that are out there operate with very different primary aims as well. So they're all kind of doing good things with food surplus that has amazing kind of consequences then for both the environment and the people around them. But actually people's different primary aims were driving them. So there's some disparity in kind of how people are talking about what they're doing and how they're reporting on it. So where we got to was really trying to whittle down into two areas. So one was, could we develop a standard framework for recording and measuring the impact of surplus food organisations such as LINS? And could that be something that could be rolled out and scaled up? And then secondly, could we link with our communities and link everybody together, local growers, shops, farms, etc., to help increase that local food supply, to help supplement some of the boxes that you're seeing on your tables as well. So where that led us was to a prototype framework initially. So some people might recognise bits of this. It's taken largely from the national TOMs. So that's a kind of social value measure that is used widely across local authorities and things like that. So I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so we just kind of said, okay, let's start with what we've got already. What on the social TOMs is relevant to an organisation such as LINS or all of those other great ones that are out there? It started with about maybe 20, 30 lines, and actually working with FareShare and working with food surplus organisations, we were able to whittle it down to try and come up with something that was fairly neat and actually included a couple of other areas that were important to the people who were delivering those services. So this is kind of where we got to with it, fairly short and simple. There's lots going on around employment opportunities created, particularly for people who maybe face additional barriers to employment, training, volunteering, obviously food waste and what we've been able to divert from landfill. So I think one of the questions that came up around that is that in a true kind of circular economy purist approach, reducing the amount of food that we produce would probably reduce the amount of waste, but actually this is a lifeline for so many people out there. And actually if you did take that approach, then you might create another problem that is bigger to solve further down the line. So the idea behind this really is that organisations such as LINS can take this, map their impact. There's a standardised way that can potentially be collated and show the impact Wales-wide of all of what we're doing, but also then help, in addition, somebody like Lynn get additional funding by being able to demonstrate the impact and the value for money that is being created.
So we put a quick slide up there really about Merthyr in the area that we were talking about now for your food boxes. So as you can see, it is a very small area and 43% of those are without vehicles and access to shops. So many of them are very reliant on what Lynn does to supply food for them.
Yeah, and we look after the community garden as well. So we do have a plot plate approach to what we're doing and what food we have. So the summer is a lot easier. The winter is tough. And then we do a lot with young people, so we do fit and fed programs, holiday activities, and the way we get them to eat food is to do all these lovely vegetable treats. But I can't help doing them at home. My girl said to me on Saturday when we were out, please don't make pictures with the veg on your plate.
So quick shout out, has anyone come up with any great ideas about what to do with your food boxes? Do you want to yell them out?
Yeah, so on our table we have pasta, two things of pasta and sauce, and tuna sweet corn pasta, flatbreads, mangoes, you could slice up and pot, biscuits, just some beef. Oh, yeah,
Okay. Pretty much finished now. Hot dogs with baked beans. You could use the flatbreads for toast. You could chop up the peppers to put in with the sauce. Yeah, that's sort of what we came up with on our table.
Great, and I heard quite a few pasta recipes in there as well, which is quite good.
Yeah, I mean, these parcels, are they representative of what you would get?
Yeah, they're
Wow,
representative.
they're very posh in where you are, because that's certainly not what we get in the Swansea ones. And, you know, we use them. I think our food banks have gone up by something like 78% with the clients that we're working with in Swansea. And I mean, these are very posh compared to what we get. You know, they're great, you know, but, you know, it's really good work that you're doing. It's been really interesting.
And this is what is changed too, because if you look at the January slide, we had a lot more meals. So meatballs in gravy, minced beef. Minced beef's gone up to £3 a tin. It's unbelievable. So we can't supplement that.
No.
And if we're not getting it in, we can't give it out. But they pay £5 for the box, and we put in as much as we can. With the veg and the fruit packages that we do, through the winter they're bought in, and we add £1 on. So there's no limit of how many of those we can do. We just keep buying more. But for these, there is, because we're reliant on food, and we really can't go out there and buy a box of food for £5 that has anything. So as a matter of interest, how much do you think the box is worth? Because they pay £5 for that. And there are some things in there that are out of date. They don't go out. I've put them in there because that's an example of what happens. It's coming in with 2 days. And there's some strange things, isn't there? Pomegranate drink. I've had alcohol-free G&T, which I didn't think we should send out.
Do we have any shout-outs for how much the box you reckon is worth?
£14.
All right.
Oh, very good. Yeah. So they're doing well for a fiver then, and we should put them up. But I am having complaints because obviously it's not what they want. And so we've talked around how we would do recipe cards and all sorts, particularly for our elderly, because we've got 677 people who are over 60, 65, who can't buy those sort of boxes that come already made because they're for 4 and they're for 2. So we did have a look for 4 for 1. So how we do 4 recipes for one person rather than the other way around. Yeah.
I think that. Oh.
It was just a quick point to make that. Have you considered, or I know it's a funding issue obviously, but have you considered something like a dark kitchen where you can, you mentioned you consult with a chef, but actually taking the waste, not to say waste, stuff that would go out of date, like you said, at the point where it's going to become waste, turn it into something usable in a kitchen, and then selling the meals rather than trying to sell the raw ingredients and have them come up with what to do with it, so to speak. So
So a chef comes in on Monday, cook just to look at that. So last week we had loads of peas in a pot, courgettes coming out of our leghorn. So yeah, we make soups for it, and then we do different things with the spinach. Spinach was a big one we had yesterday. I didn't share with you. So yeah, I think we have to do that because then we've got to make them into something we can pass on as a meal. We have funds for lunches, elderly lunches in particular, but also family breakfast for the weekend. So there are things we can make, but we are reliant on them coming in on a Monday, and then, you know, they're actually on a turn by Wednesday, so you have to move quite fast on what you can do.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much.